Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this special edition of the Idle Pack Talk Show. We are doing it Zoom, as you can see, obviously. Today we want to dive into the Nigerian elections, which is coming up on the 25th of February. This is an important election, not just for Nigeria, but for Africa as well. It has implications that grow across their boundaries and to the world. So I find that the elections has repercussions for many people who are paying particular attention. We are going to be discussing a little bit about the candidates, as much as we know about them. And then we will talk about the implications of these elections to Nigerians and to us Africans and potentially to the world. And then we'll also delve into the wish for Nigerians as they go to the polling stations to make their voices heard. So I obviously have my special host, co-founder of the Idle Pack Talk Show on the line. So we're going to be having the discussions by ourselves. We're going to keep it brief. And the goal is really to understand a little bit of the Nigerian elections and obviously offer our best wishes for them as they take a significant leap in their democracy. So, Asang, welcome. Hope you're doing good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just saying. I think it's fair to assume that you have been paying attention to the Nigerian elections. There's no way you can miss that, especially if you're paying attention to African news, even the world news.
Yes.
It's very popular. I mean, they are the largest country on the continent of Africa, the most populated country, on the continent of Africa. So obviously, their elections is pretty big. Who are the candidates that have struck you? And maybe we'll go through the list of candidates just to make sure. They are actually 4 candidates. For a while there, I thought they have been 3 candidates, but there's actually a 4th person in the name of Riaga. I hope I get the name right. In the name of Rabiu Kwankwaso. Sorry, I probably butchered that. But he's of the New Nigerian People's Party. I've never heard of the party until I started doing research for this show. Never heard of his name either. So for me, the 3 people that I've heard are Peter Obi for the Labour Party, Atiku Abubakar for the PDP, and Bola Tinubu for the APC. I don't know if you heard about the 4th guy.
I only heard about the 4th guy only recently when I was trying to do a little bit of research for this show. I know primarily it's Peter Obi and Tinubu. I think they are probably, I would say, front runners, if for lack of a better word. Atiku, yes, I've heard of him, but I don't. He's not necessarily out there, especially when you go into social media. I think Peter Obi seemed to be dominating the social media sphere, from Facebook to everything social media. Peter Obi seemed to have dominated. I think Peter Obi's strategy is similar to what Obama did when he first ran, where he relied very strongly on social media in an attempt to placate the youths, and I think Obi seemed to have the same strategy to get to the youth. I believe that's how you get to them, right? So yes, he's out there. Tinubu seemed to be a little bit more traditional. He's a little bit older, old school, so he's face-to-face meet the people type thing. I have seen his campaigns, and he's out there with uniforms, and I think he's more traditional. For Atiku, not very much. I have seen and heard of him, but I can't really speak too much of him because I don't think he's as famous. I don't know if famous is the right word as the other 2 candidates that we've kind of mentioned.
Yeah. So that's good. I want to talk a little bit about the age of these people. Obviously, Africa has been known for electing people who are really advanced in age. What really surprised me, believe it or not, Tinubu is actually younger than Atiku. Tinubu is 70 years old, but Atiku is 76. Peter Obi is significantly younger. I think that plays to his advantage in terms of attracting the youths and many people who want to see a younger president for Nigeria. Did you think Atiku was older than Tinubu?
Initially, if you look at them physically, you would definitely assume that Tinubu was older. If you look at the level of energy, Tinubu seems to be a little bit mellow. You would assume because of age, but now you kind of realize it has nothing to do with age. And of course, you don't judge a book by the cover. So, you know, looking at somebody physically and making that determination is probably unwise. But yes, he looks physically older than Atiku. Even Peter Obi, is he a young candidate? Would you call him a young candidate?
Fairly young. You're thinking about the people who are normally pitched to run for presidency in not just in Africa, in the world too. People are usually oldest in their late 60s, 70s. I don't know if we've had a really young president who's run and what. I mean, we've had younger people, but it's usually people advanced in age that are often given this opportunity to run for president. But I would say I was pleasantly surprised for Peter Obi, for his age, for his energy, for his engagement with the people, particularly on social media. I think that's a good thing for African democracy. If you pay a little bit of attention to Nigerian elections, you realize that these people spend a ton of money to run these campaigns. They attract a massive amount of population, and oftentimes they have to cater to these people spending money to attract votes, which is one thing we're going to delve into to talk about. But yeah, coming back to age, really, I was pleasantly surprised to see that he was just 61 years old. But I'm with you there. I was really, really surprised to see that Tinubu is younger than Atiku. I mean, you see the guy sleeping in press conferences. He cannot make a clear statement many times. He speaks, you cannot understand what he's trying to say. He feels like he's so tired. He doesn't want to be there. But at the same time, you see him going to all these rallies. So you have a lot of his supporters saying that it's because he's tired. He's been doing so much, he needs to take a break and stuff like that. So obviously you have people who come out to defend that. But for me, he really looks old. He really looks exhausted. He looks like someone that is tired, not just from being busy, but because of age.
I agree. But one thing I want to note is that even though Peter Obi appears to be the youngest amongst the candidates, he's still an old man. I would have preferred a much younger candidate who Peter Obi can't claim to understand the plight of the youth of Nigeria because he's not feeling it. He's way up there. He's rich, filthy rich, and most of them are, right? So I don't know how you can claim to understand what the masses are feeling. So yes, I would have preferred a much younger candidate.
How young would you have preferred?
I don't know, 45? Macron, I don't remember how old Macron got into office, but as young as Macron was, I think it was around that age.
Yeah,
it would have been a record setting for Africa to have a president who is much younger. However, to contradict that desire, I would say that for Africa, there are certain things that are expected of their leader. They want a leader who is experienced, and believe me, you don't get the experience that the voters want at 45, because at 45 you're still struggling, you're still trying to find your foot in politics, right? So you don't get the opportunity to build the experience. Again, there's a lot of political capital too that is needed, and it takes time to build political capital. And if you see, most of Peter Obi was governor at one point.
Tinubu too.
Tinubu was governor for Lagos at one point. Atiku was vice president at some point, right? So it takes time to build the political capital that you need to run for office. It takes time to build the experience that you need to run. So
is it reliable for us to ask for someone in their 40s or even 50s to be a candidate? I mean, you can be a candidate, but what are your chances of winning? Because, like you talk, experience is important capital when you run for these positions. And these other people are not just going to let you run them over. They too have been fighting for decades to acquire such positions. So it's competition at the top.
They have been foot soldiers for those who ran before them, and I believe now there's a feeling that this is their time. They won't let a young man just jump up over them, because I know Tinubu has been noted for saying that he was partly responsible, or part of the group of people responsible for having the current president in place, right? So according to him, this is his time.
It's something that is owed.
Yeah, it feels like it's a debt. The party is indebted to him because of the role and the clout that he has in terms of getting the current president in place. So yeah, it would be difficult for a young man to run. And the possibility of winning too is like, because even though we are young, we don't necessarily. We won't necessarily trust or believe that a younger candidate would be able to lead the country, right? It's like, again, no experience, none of that.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the governor race. Those are incredibly difficult elections to win. I mean, you have to start from the low levels, work your way up. Being a governor in Nigeria or anywhere in the world is not easy.
I think it's like heading a nation in its own, right? It feels like that.
Lagos State is population-wise, it's more populated than Cameroon.
It's like 2 times larger than Cameroon. So it's a state, technically speaking.
Just running Lagos State, you probably have more effect on people's life more than the president of Cameroon. So being the president, it's not easy. Being the governor, it's not easy. Being other positions too in political power is not easy. So it takes an incredible long time to be able to build the portfolio to even put your foot on the doorsteps to run as a party candidate. Let's talk a little bit about the strategies. What has stood out to me is a little bit of how Peter Obi in particular is approaching this election, has a lot of social media presence, has a lot of youthful exuberance. I said earlier, maybe his age plays an advantage to that. The other two people are still using traditional methods of campaigning. They're still going on the ground, they're still holding rallies with lots of people. Not to say Peter Obi is not holding rallies, he is, but he's also complementing that with a lot of social media presence, inviting stars, Nollywood stars. A lot of them are rocking with him, going to his campaign, promoting his messages on social media. What do you think? What struck you with his way of campaigning, as opposed to the?
Just like we did mention earlier, I think age has a lot to play, and also his strategy is you would see me at every turn. And that is what he does with social media. So each time a youth in Nigeria picks up their phone, goes to Facebook, there's a high probability that you see something about Peter Obi. He is either with these social media influencers in a small meeting, or someone has made a little reel of something that he said. He's everywhere. And I think that is what he's wanting to do. Each time you pick up your phone, Facebook, WhatsApp, even WhatsApp groups it's all him. TikTok, all of that. He wants you to pick up your phone and see and hear from him every time you do. But the one thing I should also note is that social media is not a silver bullet. It worked for Obama pretty well. Well. Did not necessarily work for Hillary Clinton. Worked for Donald Trump absolutely well. Right? And then it failed. It kind of failed him again.
The second time,
Biden. So it's not like it's a silver bullet that if you do well with social media, you're definitely getting the votes. I don't think that. So I'm hoping that Peter Obi gets to understand that social media is not the key to him winning the presidency. I think meeting the people on the ground and talking to the common man, or just like how I think Tinubu is doing. He's there, He's not very popular on social media, but he is right down to the local government. He's meeting the people. He's talking to the chiefs. I think his strategy is a lot, because again, we are Africans, right? Sometimes you don't necessarily need to capture the people. You need to capture the leaders of the communities of the people you're intending to get to vote for you. That's why Atiku is talking to the chiefs. There's one rally that I saw of him. He visited I don't remember the chief, the chief of, I don't remember the name of that, the chief of that, but he was there in the village. He talking to the chief, he's talking to his councils, he's talking to the kingmakers. Those are the people he wants to talk to, right? Because these are the people who would bring their village to vote, right? So I think traditionalists, I think his strategy might be more productive. Social media is mostly hype. You're everywhere, but you might not be
and it's also
creating the kind of impact that you're wanting to create, right?
It's also hard to believe that there are a lot of people who are not on social media, believe it or not.
Exactly.
There are a lot of poor people in Nigeria who don't know what a smartphone is, who don't know what the internet is, who don't know what connecting with candidates on social media. They don't know what Instagram or Facebook is. So they will never see your message. I know it's everybody thinks everyone is plugged in with social media. No. There's a lot of poverty in Nigeria, and a lot of
you might even have the smartphone. You might even be aware of the social media, but not have the means to get the internet connection that gets you onto social media, right? And I know there are millions of Nigerians who would not put their money on data just so they can follow politics. So they would rather wait for these politicians to come to them. And listen and talk to them.
And listen and talk to them. Another method that particularly Africa countries have been criticized of, which is paying people for votes. So you go for rallies and they're sharing bags of rice, they're sharing soaps, they're sharing cooking oil, they're sharing food stuff to capture people's votes. So basically people's votes are up for sale. What are your thoughts on that? And
I don't think it's any different. I don't think it's any different from what people here do. I don't think it's any different. As is look, it's a little more a little less acceptable, because people think it's not the best approach. But when these guys run for candidates for elections here, they make promises. What are they doing? Is it not they are selling? Is it not buying votes in other way? They might not be exchanging money. They might not be exchanging commodities, but making promises sometimes that they can't even keep, right? And then there's the lobbies, there's the donors. It's a different style, but they are all buying and selling votes. That's how I see it. Our approach would be termed, it's a little which word can I use? But it's the same thing. They are all buying. Their politics, I think that's what politics is all about. It's give and take. I might either be giving you a bag of rice to take your vote, or I might be making a promise of a school in your community just to get your votes. It's give and take. Scratch my back, I scratch your back. If you talk to the late Achidi Achu, that's what he will tell you. That's what politics is all about.
That's what politics.
I benefit, and I find a way for you to benefit as well, right? So, is it bad? Would you say it's a bad approach? Is it good?
I don't think,
how do you categorize it?
I don't think all of it in itself is bad. And I don't know if you put getting a bag of rice and soap and sharing it to people in the same category as promising them good roads and good schools and good infrastructure. I don't know if those two fall in the same category. Should you sell your votes for food? For a meal? Does it speak to a larger picture of the desperation that people do face? They don't even have anything to eat. They are willing to cast their vote without necessarily understand the policies. So I think that is where I would draw the line. Do you really know what you're voting for? Are you taking this food? Are you voting for this person because you had a bag of rice, even if it means the person's policies do not necessarily benefit you? Are you taking this food or soap and oil because that's all you can provide for your family, and you're just going to vote people who give that to you? So that's where I draw, particularly, is the coercion there. Are you being coercive? I mean, logically, you're trying to coerce people to get votes, but if you're being deceitful and using money just to like,
what about the politicians who make promises they never keep? Obama made 1,000 promises when he ran for office. He didn't keep one quarter of the promises he made. Donald Trump made 1,000 promises. He didn't keep any. Joe Biden made promises. He's still in office. He's not even sure he's going to keep 1/3 of. So how different is that? And tell me, how many people vote for a candidate because they understand the candidate's platform? Very few. There are very few people who sit down and look at the platforms. What is this candidate running on? There are very few people who do that. Even here in the West, there are very few people who do that, right? Most of the time, it's either you like, there's something about this person that you like, which might have nothing to do with the platform he's running on. I've seen people vote for people just because this guy was black. People voted for Obama not knowing anything about him, but just knowing that he was a black candidate.
He was black,
People voted for Hillary just because she was a woman. It has nothing to do with why they are running, but just because there's this one thing about them that clicks or connects, and then that is who they want to vote for, right? So,
like, do people really have an open mind? Do you think? I don't think so. As much as we like to think that people really have an open mind to vote for a policy. So people are really stuck up to what they already know, and I don't know if people are willing to change. Like you mentioned, people vote along racial lines, people vote along gender lines, people vote along religious lines, people vote along tribal lines. This is the reality.
Where there's the tribal lines are the Yorubas are there, the Igbos are there. It's really it's almost obvious that people mostly want to vote for someone who comes from their tribe. Peter Obi is president. His candidate is Yoruba. Tinubu is, I think, is Yoruba. He's Yoruba, I believe.
He's from Adamawa, I think.
His vice president, the vice president is from down, from so they understand that this is how people vote. That's why
you have to make all those
those concessions. If you're running and you're from one region, you have to make sure that your running mate is from the other region.
From somewhere, so you can pull people.
So that he can pull, so there's all these lines which they have to cross and to run, so it's a little tricky.
It's very interesting. Okay. We've mentioned before, obviously this election has a lot of implications locally to Nigeria, to the wider African population, to the world. Economic implications. Nigerian economy is really suffering. A lot of the candidates are running on bringing back the economy on track. It has terrorism implications. A lot of people are running on providing security, preventing terrorism, preventing kidnapping, which is something that is really prevalent in Nigeria at the moment. The price of oil, which is one of Nigeria's main commodity, it's very involved in these elections, and we can think of many other things. What do you think Nigeria should be looking for? And how do these things and the policies that these people are trying to push affect their private lives, and what should they vote for?
Nigerians should understand that there's no immediate fix to all the problems that they're going through. I'm hoping that the candidates are not claiming to have a silver bullet to fix every problem as soon as they get it. The problem of insecurity has been there for decades. It's just gotten worse. But the problem of insecurity has been there for a while. And again, this insecurity connects a little bit with the secessionist movement. That is the Biafra movement that's happening there too. So Biafra movement didn't start today. Right? I don't know, I call it pandemic of kidnapping.
Oh yeah,
originated from the movement. It originated from those activities where political leaders and business people were kidnapped either to raise money or to send a message or to negotiate, right? So these problems have been there for a while. They've just exploded over time. So there's no immediate solution to that problem.
Energy. You talked about the energy.
The energy
as long as
crisis
been growing.
I've heard,
electricity in Nigeria has always been a problem. I've never heard of a time where they had the constant supply of electricity. We are really blessed in Cameroon in that regard. I mean, we have our
own issues, but I think we're doing way better
than them in terms of electricity and stuff like that.
Even there's also this issue of currency. They changed the bank notes. And Cameroon too did the same thing almost about the same time, but I don't hear shortage in bank notes in Cameroon, but it is a big problem in Nigeria. I hear even just making an exchange like you do what we do as Momo transfer, like the online transfer, the fee, the cost of receiving money, the cost of receiving money is unbelievable.
It is
right,
and
it's creating a lot of problems because I think they're running out of cash. So it's been difficult to get money, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are blaming this on corruption. There are people who are holding billions of naira in their homes, so there's really no money in circulation. So you can imagine how deep the corruption runs.
Are you talking about money, the old currency, or you're talking about the new currency?
I don't know.
Because I think the reason why governments change notes is so that they can figure out how much they can control or manage. I think the purpose of this, what I understand, was the government decided to do this so as to as an attempt to manage corruption when it comes to people keeping money in their houses. Because again, you only get the new bank notes if you exchange it for the old notes, right?
The old ones,
So it would be difficult for someone who has embezzled billions of dollars or of naira to bring it to banks to kind of make the change. So the hope is that these people get stuck with these old notes, which is kind of getting out of circulation. So again, but again, in an attempt to end corruption, you open up.
Yeah, you have to exchange that money. It's like, because you've taken that money out of the system, you have to put it back into the system.
But they can't, because if you bring a certain amount of money, you probably would want to explain how you got this money in the first place. So the money is stuck with you in your house.
Yeah, but again, at the same time, you cannot just print money. That's really the cause of inflation, when people are just printing money, when there's no exchange of goods and services, and you just print money as if you're printing paper. I mean, it just speaks to how heartless people are, because you take billions and keep in your house. That is money out of circulation. That's so sad.
Again, it's not just a Nigerian problem. I think we Cameroonians can write a book. So, we can teach a course on how that happens, right? So it's not just a Nigerian issue, right?
Exactly. Speaking a little bit about terrorism, lots of terrorism in northern part of Nigeria overflows to Cameroon and Chad, speaking particularly of Boko Haram. There was also at one point the rise of the Fulani headsmen who were killing innocent people, particularly Christians. So I know the Nigerian army has been fighting terrorism for a long time. A lot of these candidates are also running on that platform to stop terrorism. What do you think are the efforts that can be made in this regard?
Tinubu said you hire more soldiers, these young men who really don't have a lot they're unemployed. You hire them into the army and you feed them with cassava and cocoyams and palm oil, and you've employed a bunch of people, and then you create opportunity for farmers to make in revenue but from selling cassava and foodstuff to the army. Again, this is just a joke. But he actually said it. I heard him.
I heard him say that.
I heard him say it. I saw the video. So yes, it's definitely an issue that not just Nigeria is facing, because Boko Haram, there's Nigeria, there's Cameroon, there's Chad, right?
Yeah.
So all these three countries are dealing with
Terrorism.
with terrorism in a up north. What I'll say is, I think that these three countries that I know of have been very good at collaborating in an attempt to beat back Boko Haram, right? And I believe they have been successful to a larger extent in pushing them back. They've not eradicated the movement, but I think they are putting up a good fight.
They have been largely successful, because we haven't heard about Boko Haram for a long time.
Yes.
So I guess we are about to round up. What is your wish for Nigerians as they go to the polling stations?
First of all, I see there's about 93 million people registered to vote. I think that is a significant number of Nigerians. I know total population is about 213 million people.
Millions. Yeah.
And 93 of them are registered to vote. I think that it's commendable. It's commendable. I think they've put in a lot of effort to encourage Nigerians to come out and perform. It's their civic right. It's their right as a Nigerian to vote. Change wouldn't come from you sitting in your house and criticizing. Change comes from you voting for someone you believe can make change. You will not say, I didn't contribute to the change. You might say, I voted and I got disappointed. I think it's better than staying home and doing nothing. So what I wish for Nigerians is to come out in their numbers and vote for the candidate that speaks to them. Vote for the candidate who would represent them properly. Vote for candidates who would be able to meet the needs of Nigerians as a whole, not the needs of people from a certain clan or a certain tribe. But because again, Nigeria is not about tribes. Nigeria is a country, and we want someone who can lead the country and lead Africa too, because let's not forget
they are the giants of Africa.
That Nigeria is the giants of Africa, right? Where Nigeria goes, I can assure you that most African countries would follow. So we want someone who can fully represent Nigeria and Africa as a whole. And also again, the issue of post-election violence. I am definitely praying and hoping that elections go free and fair. At least should come across as free and fair, and then hopefully there are no election violence. Candidates should be honorable enough to accept defeat when defeated, and on time, not wait until people are dead. Hundreds of people die before you admit or you accept that you've been defeated. So again, please go out in your numbers and vote. It's your right to do that.
I think I'll share the same sentiments with you. Just to reiterate, post-election violence, we hope that things go peacefully for Nigerians and they can cast their votes and they can go back to their homes peacefully, and they can resume their daily activities and accept the results. So, all the best.
Sorry, I just also wanted to add that if you were interested in Nigerian politics, watching this video, or if you're a Nigerian anywhere that you are and you wanted to have a more insightful conversation with us, please reach out to us. Let us know. We can definitely organize a little chat with you before election day, which is what day is that election day?
25th, February 25th.
Before February 25th, right? We can definitely, put something together and hear from you. Yes.
So all the best, Nigerians. You guys are the beacon of Africa in many respects. And we hope that you guys exercise your democratic rights and you are able to elect a leader that represents you. Thank you for watching, and all the best, Nigerians.